I have a really special episode for you all today. It's a 10,000 euro buy-in 2550 cash game with personalities like Lex Veldhaus, Olga, Spraggy, and more. This was filmed all the way back at EPT Monte Carlo, where I took 18th place in the main event for 35,100 euros. PokerStars just released these episodes on their YouTube channel, so I can finally compile it all and make this sick vlog. There's a few other twists to this cash game, but I'll explain them along the way.
Hello and welcome to the PokerStars Mystery Cash Challenge. I'm James Harskin, he's Joe Stapleton. In addition, we have Wolfgang Poker, who has a hand on YouTube with more than 100 million views.
I think my biggest achievement is having the most subscribers in the poker space. Choo-choo! A lot of people say that they watch my videos and they start playing poker for the very first time, and just knowing that I'm getting so many new people into the game, that just brings me a lot of joy. The very first hand of the night, Tonka puts the 100 euro straddle on. I find myself on the dealer button with the best hand.
Isn't that Wolfgang's shtick? By the way, Tonka, I wouldn't recommend straddling when someone else has the angels.
The first hand I play is pocket aces. We make it $350 to go. Barney Boatman is in the big blind. If you guys aren't familiar with his game, well, he's a pretty good player. He just took down EPT Paris for 1.25 million euros. So when he comes in for a 3-bet to 1,050 euros, all I can think about is if I'm getting a little bit of that prize money here in this hand. Instead of just calling here in position, I decided to come in for a 4-bet. 2,700 euros is the price to go. Barney, please put in the call. Please shove it all in. But instead, he folds 8-4 of hearts. So he was getting a little bit frisky there. I did take down an additional $1,000 that I probably shouldn't have gotten. Most players aren't going to be 3-betting 8-4 of hearts, but thank you, Barney, for that small little donation. My name's Alexander Wolfgang, or as my online following knows me by, Wolfgang Poker, and I make social media videos for a living.
What he's doing is amazing. Coming from content myself, it's just absolutely mind-blowing.
Haven't met him before, but looking forward to getting a nice slow roll in on him and maybe sneaking into one of his reels.
I'd say confidence-wise, I'm definitely a 5.5 out of 10. Normally when I'm playing games, I'm like an 11 out of 10, but there's some big names tonight, so we're gonna have some fun, and hopefully I can prove myself worthy. This is probably a good time to tell you guys about those small little twists to this cash game, the most important being the bomb pot tokens.
The first 9 form the qualification phase. Win a hand, earn a token. And this token gains entry to the 10th hand, which is a bomb pot, where the winner gets to pick a mystery prize.
All right, next hand, I'm gonna battle with Ace-10 offsuit from the +1 position. My chip stack is now 11,000 euros, so a little bit of profit here. Let's see if we can put it to good use. Barney decides to call from the dealer button, and we are going heads up out of position to a flop, which comes 10-9-8 rainbow. Top is pretty good. Out of position though, not so great. This board is likely to connect pretty well with Barney. He could have an open-ended straight draw. He could have Jack Queen, 7-6, some flush draws, 2 pairs and sets. So I think instead of betting and then getting raised, I like a check call option much better. When it checks over to Barney, he does in fact go for a bet, 300 euros. Check raising seems way too aggressive and out of line, so I just put in the call. When the turn comes to 8 of diamonds, a little bit more of the same here. Gonna keep the same logic and check it over to Barney, who now slows down and checks behind. At this point, I think I have the best hand. He would continue to bet here with all of his straights. It's harder for him to have pocket 8s, but pocket 9s and pocket 10s, I think, would continue betting. So when he checks behind, in the river comes the 9 of clubs. It's one of those cards I don't really love because he could have some 9x hands that now make trips. I have the best 10x, so I check it over to Barney once again. He thinks about it for a little while and then bets pot.
2 pairs of an ace is sometimes good.
Ace high good?
It could be.
Do I think he's betting pot here with any of his straights? Absolutely not. This is pretty much an 8x hand, a 9x hand, or nothing. I have pocket 10s severely blocked here, so it's either a boat or nothing. I think Barney is definitely capable of having a lot of nothing. You did see him 3-bet me with 8-4 of hearts, so I eventually decide to put in the call, and he shows that he got lucky on the river. 9-7 offsuit makes a full house, and this 3K pot headed over to him. All right, Tonka opens it up to 175. Spraggy puts in the call. I'm in the small blind with my favorite hand, pocket sevens. Yes, I'm wearing it on my hat as well.
I think I figured out what his favorite hand is.
And of course, I'm going to come in for a nice size 3-bet here to 750 euros. Will that thin the field? Well, sort of. We get a call just from Tonka. Heads up to the flop we go, which gives us a gutter to the straight 10-8-6 with 2 clubs. Out of position, not great in this spot. I decide to start with a check, and Tonka now fires out for 300 euros. I make a pretty easy call, and the turn comes the jack of diamonds. Not going to be betting once again. I check, and Tonka checks behind. It's possible we have the best hand at this point in time, and the 3 of spades on the river shouldn't really change too much. My options now are check it over to Tonka, or I could turn my hand into a bluff. I would be bluffing against hands like 10-9, 8-9, 8-7, stuff like that that has my pocket sevens beat. The jack out there could be a little bit scary for Tonka if he had a 10x or 8x hand. And of course, we're beating all of his 6x, so not really too worried about that. I decided to turn my hand into a bluff here. I don't really think sevens is going to win at Showdown all too often. It's possible he could call us with some ace-high flush draws as well. Just thinking this is kind of a bluffy line. I fire out for 1,050 euros. I go pretty large in this spot, and we get snapped off. And he does show us an ace, but it's ace-8 of clubs. So he had the absolute world on the flop. The nut flush draw plus second pair. Even though he snap called us and made us look like a fool, it's possible that this bet would get other players to fold in the future. You guys can let me know down in the comments, was this a decent bluff?
I'm just a big station.
Well done, man.
You'll learn.
All right, Olga opens up the +1 to $150. I'm in the cutoff with 5 deuce of spades. Now, normally this would be a fold. However, we want to give some action here, and also it's hand 15, which means we only have 5 other hands to try to win one of those bomb pot tokens and take down one of those gold or silver power passes. So I decided to put in the call, and we're going to pick up a few other customers. Off to the flop we go, which comes ace jack 5 with 2 hearts. Barney leads out for 50 euros and Tonka raises it to 100. Olga finds the call and the action's over to me. I have bottom pair. Shouldn't be too good here. I think a lot of players are going to have some jack X, maybe some weak aces, some flush draws. So I decided to get tricky and 3-bet it to $300. Definitely not a recommended move. This is because I'm on a live stream and because I really want to win a token.
I'm out.
Oh!
They said I'm all in.
You two banana heads chased out the best hand. Good job, I guess.
When the turn comes a blank, it's the 3 of clubs. Tonka leads out for 75 euros. Pretty interesting spot here. I could just call with my pair and wheel draw. Any 4 would give me that ace to 5 straight. But instead, I decide to tell the story that I have a pretty good hand like ace 5, ace jack, pocket 5s, and I'm trying to protect my hand against his flush draws. So I decide to raise it up to $775.
That's right, Wolfgang is American, and these colors don't run. Spelled without a U. Colors, not run. Of course that has a U.
And sure enough, he puts in the call. Not a great spot for me. And the river is an absolute doozy. It comes the jack of hearts. It's terrible for the obvious reason that it brings in a 3rd heart. But more so than that, if he was sticky with a hand like queen jack or jack 9, he's definitely not folding now. He checks it over to me and I decide to stop the bluff. I check behind with my 5 deuce. And sure enough, he turns over jack 6 offsuit. So a brutal beat for me there on the river.
Chips are good.
It's good on the turn anyways.
How does he know?
So I'm stuck 5,000 euros on this mystery cash challenge. Not exactly the way I would have scripted it, but let's put our head down and get back to work. We top up our stack to 10K. Tonka has the $100 straddle on, and Olga raises up the cutoff to $200. Queen 7 offsuit, hand number 33 of the night. I decide to put in the loose call, and we are going 3 ways to the flop. Flop comes king jack 9, and the action checks around. When the turn comes the 4 of hearts, Tonka decides to lead out for 50 euros, and both Olga and I decide to find the call, giving me a pair on the river.
Got that gut shot.
3-way to the river.
When the action checks through, ship that pot over to me, dealer. Olga had pocket 6s, so we needed to hit that river, and we are taking down an $800 pot. But more important than that, I finally collect a bomb pot token.
Come on, give it to me! Yes, buddy.
All All right, with some momentum now, we pick up the ladies from the +1, and I open it up to 175 euros. Lex 3-bets me to 550.
Tranquilo!
Yes,
Tranquilo!
Come on.
I'm just starting to have some fun here.
Lex Veldhouse, the legend. Some of you guys, okay, maybe all of you guys are familiar with him. Pretty surreal playing at the same table as Lex Veldhouse. He used to play on that big game show they had out in Vegas. And of course, he's a massive streamer. Tonka, another massive streamer, 4-bets to 1875. This is what you guys might call a dream situation. We're in the +1, I raise, I get 3-bet, I get 4-bet, action's back around to me, and the person who's 4-betting isn't exactly the tightest player at the table. After a little bit of posturing, I decide I need to put a 5-bet in here, and I decide on a 5-bet shove using my patented line that some of you guys might recognize from my shorts and reels.
Choo-choo! All in.
All aboard.
Okay, I know it's corny, but it gets a lot of comments, and you guys are eligible to talk to me when you have 1 billion views on YouTube as well. It's just some stuff that works, and the choo-choo definitely gets the comments rolling in on Instagram and YouTube. Action's back over to Tonka after Lex finds a fold, and he has ace-9 of spades. Will he put in the light call? No, he finds the fold, but this 12.7k pot headed over my way.
Show me
Come
worse
on,
than a
Wolfgang,
9.
windmilling.
Worse than a 9?
Yeah.
I can't show you a card worse than a 9.
Okay, that's good.
Action's on me from under the gun, and I want to get a third token. Queen 6 of hearts seems good enough to call, and the rest of the table does as well. We have a family pot brewing here, and the flop comes ace jack 6 rainbow.
Ace jack 6. So Wolfgang's ahead with bottom pair?
Somehow I flop myself the best hand 6 ways with bottom pair. That makes absolutely no sense. The action checks over to Lex, who bets out for 50 euros. Barney calls the 50. Tonka raises it up to 100. I decide to flick in a $100 chip. Lex and Barney both call. 4 ways to the flop here, and it gives me 2 pair, the queen of diamonds, and I keep it tricky and check it once again. Unfortunately, the action checks through, bringing in the 4 of spades. Let's get tricky once again, and I check. After Lex blocks for 50, Barney now finally takes the rope and raises it up to 550. Obviously, I snap call him, and he turns over 8-9 offsuit. 100% chance that this 1,800 euro pot coming over my way. And now suddenly, after not collecting any bomb pot tokens through the first 3 rounds.
Oh my gosh, you have 3 tokens.
I know, guys, relax. I know I'm playing out of my mind right now.
Had some help on the turn and from the 5-second shot clock for Barney, but yeah, take all the credit.
I'm picking up the third one here, which is super valuable to note because whoever has the most gets the button on the bomb pot.
So hand 10 is played as a bomb pot. Everyone pays 100 euros and we go straight to the flop.
Speaking of bomb pots, we're headed into it right now. I have ace-7 offsuit and the flop comes ace-10 deuce. We're going against Tonka and Lex.
Oh, that's me.
Our flop to flush.
Impossible.
In a 3-way here, Lex bets out for 50, Tonka makes it 100. With top pair, I could either call or raise. I decide to clean up the field right here, right now, and 550 worth of chips goes into the middle. Tonka decides to call with his mystery hand. The turn comes the 6 of spades. Tonka checks it over to me, and now I fire out for 1,250 euros. I'm just really trying to get maximum value versus any of his flush draws. His 10 jack, 10-9, ace-5, ace-3 type of hands, and sure enough, he comes along once again with a call. When the river comes the 5 of hearts, he bets out into me for 75 euros, and I decide just to call. I didn't want to raise here because I think I'm only going to get called by better hands, and he could put me into a really tough spot with a large raise.
This is great for poker. This is so good for poker.
I'll never win a bomb pot. It's impossible.
And sure enough, we're taking down a bomb pot, which means we get to open up an envelope from Joe Stapleton.
It's not enough on there.
He's gonna take it off right away. Oh, I did that once to someone, but they got really mad, so I didn't do that again.
Headed into the 5th round, we did pick up that $2,500 power pass, but we have that gnarly forfeit. So something to take into consideration going forward.
This is worst case scenario. We want to look at both cards, right? But you know what? I'm going to still try to get in there, come in for some limps. I can't be raising only looking at one card.
Looking at only one card, it's very, very difficult to play any pots at all, especially if you're the first person to act. So yeah, very, very punishing forfeit for Wolfgang.
In hand number 43, a pretty interesting dynamic breaks out. We can see that Olga has Jack 10, so he flopped herself an open-ended straight draw. Lex has a set of 9s, and Tonka has the nut flush draw. They get all the money in on the flop, so it's a 30,000 euro pot with the equities pretty split. Lex has a 57% chance to take this down with his middle set. Of course, the board could pair and kill both of the other opponent's draws. Tonka has the nut flush draw, Olga with the open-ended straight draw, and they're going to run it out once. The turn improves Lex. It's not the cards the other opponents want to see, but Tonka hits the river.
It's an 8, but it's the 8 of diamonds.
Wrong 8.
The 8 of diamonds seals both her and Lex's fate, and Tonka is going to pick up 21,000 euros of profit in this hand alone. And yeah, look at Lex. The knight has not gone his way, but he continues to fire and gets hit on the river. What an absolute disaster. Okay, after all that craziness, don't forget that I can only look at one of my cards for the next like 5 hands. I look down at the Queen of Clubs, which seems pretty great. I'm going to put in the call for 100 euros. Tonka raises it up to $600, and I decide to call. It's probably not the best idea because I could just have the Deuce of Hearts underneath that other card, but we're filming for an episode. I want to be fun and not just fold every time I see one card, so I decide to put in the call, and of course Barney punishes me by raising to 2,000 euros. It seems like a pretty easy decision. A snap fold is coming, but I think about it for a little while. Barney does have me covered at 15,000 euros. Perhaps if I was a lot shorter, like 5,000 to 10,000 euros, maybe I just shove it in here and have a good time for the episode, but I make the right decision and fold until Barney turns over Jack 7 of spades. So a shove definitely would have got it through here. My other card turned out to be the Ace of Hearts, so I had him absolutely smoked. I didn't even need that ace. My queen high was good, but Barney putting pressure on me, having only seen one of my cards, he's taken down a $3,400 pot. Okay, our punishment's over. We finally made it through that brutal round. Unfortunately, we didn't make it to the bomb pot segment because, I mean, let's face it, I was just never going to make it there, being able to only look at one card. But we're back to looking at both. I'm in the big blind with Ace 6 of spades. There's a straddle to 100, 2 calls over to me, and I decided to put pressure on both of them with a raise to 525 euros. Barney and Tonka both find the call, going 3 ways to the flop, which comes ace, ace, 9, bang, we flop trips. There's 1,700 euros in the middle, and I decide to go for a 525 euro bet.
And he continues for 525 euros.
2 snap folds.
Barney has to fold his 5 high. Pretty ambitious of him to be in there in the first place, but Tonka finds the call, bringing in the turn, which comes the 8 of diamonds. I could either bet or check in the spot, and I decide to slow down and check. Tonka fires out now for $525. I could check raise, but I think that's a little bit too aggressive. If he had a flush, he's probably just putting the money in, and if he has a better ace like ace 10, ace jack, ace queen, well, we're lighting money on fire as well. With no diamond in our hand, we don't have a redraw, so I decide just to put in the call, and the river now comes the Jack of diamonds. Our hand went from absolutely a premium on the flop to kind of sketchy on the turn, and now I want to grab a bucket and puke in it by the river. There's $3,800 in the middle. I could go for a little bit of a blocker bet, or I could decide to check call or check fold. When I check it over to Tonka, he doesn't have a diamond as well and checks behind with a little bit of showdown value, I guess. He has a pair of 9s, but my 3 of a kind aces is gonna take it down to $3,800 pot. And look at this, we gotta put a sticker on old Tonka. Papa's coming. I gotta do it.
What the fuck?
You're winning too much. You're winning too much. You have to have something bad happen to you.
Okay, I'll wear it on the
I banged you twice.
I'll wear it on the chest.
All right, another suited ace here from the cutoff. After Olga calls from the +1, I decide to come in for a 3-bet. It's $225 to go, and Lex, Tonka, and Olga all find the call. We're going 4 ways to the flop, which comes ace 10-5 with 2 diamonds. When the action checks over to me, I go for a bet of 275 euros, and we're only gonna pick up one customer, being Olga. Finally, we get into it with our Ukrainian counterpart. After all, a little known fact, I am 50% German, but I'm 25% Ukrainian as well. The other 25% is Czech, and that's enough about my lineage. We're off to the turn here, which comes the 4 of clubs. Olga checks it over to myself, and I'm gonna go for a bet here of 500 euros. Will she get sticky and find the call once again? again? Yes, she does. She puts in the call, and now a 2,500 euro pot is brewing. In the river comes the 8 of hearts. Hopefully she doesn't just blast off into me here. I did pick up those additional outs on the turn with the nut flush draw, but no, she does check for a third time. Do I check behind here and get to a cheap showdown, or should I go for a little bit of thin value? I'm kind of curious as to what she has, so I check behind. She turns over king 5 offsuit, so ultimately just ended up with a pair of 5s.
How do you always have an ace?
I just always do.
And why do you never bet it?
And my top pair is gonna be good once again here in hand number 55. Cinco de Mayo, baby, it's a fiesta. All right, because we won a few hands in that last round, we made it to our second bomb pot of the night. We could win another 2,500 euro power pass, or we could pick up a 10.3k gold power pass, which would be pretty sick as well. Our hand is not so great though. 8 deuce of hearts from under the gun, a terrible hand, a terrible starting position, and I decide to call the 50 euro bet from Spraggy. Olga calls as well, and the turn comes the 4 of clubs. Only 2 players in between me and my chance at opening up another one of those mystery envelopes. Is Spraggy gonna slow down? No, he goes for a large bet now of 1,300 euros, which clears Olga out of the hand. Action's back over to me. I would have loved to pick up a heart, an 8, or a deuce on the turn.
Really tough to give up any kind of hand at all, though, on the very last hand of the entire series.
But obviously it was not to be. But seeing as though this is the last hand of the mystery cash challenge, I have a pair of 8s. My opponent is definitely capable of bluffing in this spot. I decide to make a pretty loose call here of 1,300 euros, and if I'm not ahead, I definitely want to see an 8 or a deuce on the river. So of course, the poker gods are gonna reward me with the 8 of diamonds on the river. Bang, we river 3 of a kind.
Wolfgang spikes a 2-outer.
At this point, we're beating pretty much all of his hands. Ace king, king queen, king 4, queen 4. I have them all beat now with my 3 of a kind, and better than that, my hand is super disguised. There's just no way he's gonna expect me to show up with 8 deuce when he bet large on the turn. So it shouldn't be too hard for me to get more chips in the middle, but Spraggy now slows down and checks. So it's great news because I have 3 of a kind and I'm probably gonna open up an envelope. Not so great news because I would have loved Spraggy to go for even a small bet so I could have shoved it in his face. Looks like when he checks over to me, I gotta get the chips in the middle as well. If I had any bluffs here, like some club draws that missed on the turn or some open-ended straight draws like Jack 10, maybe a hand like Ace Jack of spades, Ace 10 of spades, something like that, I would shove it all in if I was gonna go for the bluff, which, let's face it, I probably would go for a bluff in this spot. Last hand of the night, 5k in his stack, it's a decent amount. I'm all in.
Wolfgang shoves on Spraggy.
It's so funny because you haven't value bet thin all day. So surely you just check a king, huh? And then you have to call bear 8 on the turn because 8 of clubs. You can't have it. I mean, look at this river. Like, it's so gross. But you, I mean, like, how do you have a hand? You check back a king. You check back a king all day. And like, you just call bear 8 for 1,300 on the turn. I don't think so.
Spraggy calls.
Good call, buddy. Good call.
I called the bear 8 on the turn for 1,500.
No, he didn't.
So well.
Oh my God, he really did. Oh my God.
Don't leave, don't
I
leave.
thought that was an incredible call.
I called the bear 8. Come on, I gotta beg him. Bang, Spraggy puts in the call. We are gonna take down a massive 14,000 euro pot to end the night. Putting a bang sticker on Spraggy as well as Tonkin the night was an absolute pleasure. And yes, we get to open up another mystery envelope, and you guys are gonna wanna see what I pull in this one.
So Spraggy gets banged as Wolfgang wins the final hand of the Mystery Cash Challenge.
All right, folks, we've got one bomb pot mystery prize left to go. Wolfgang,
I'm so excited.
50-50 shot at the big one.
It's a 0 and a 0.
That one has an imprint, but I'm gonna go left.
And we've got...
Oh, we got it! Ship it!
Wolfgang
Well done, sir.
wins the
For the
flip.
game.
Well done, sir.
For the
For the
game.
game.
This is for all the youngins out there.
$10,000 gold power pass for Wolfgang.
So when it's all said and done, I ended up profiting almost 7,000 euros, but don't forget I pulled out 2 of those power passes, the 10.3k power pass and the 2.5k power pass. So a lot more EPT main events coming your way in the future. It was an absolute pleasure to be invited out to the PokerStars Mystery Cash Challenge. Shout out to Joe Stapleton, James Hardigan, the whole cast and crew here at PokerStars. Some of the legends like Team Pros, Lex Veldhouse, Tonka, Spraggy, Barney Boatman, and of course, the pretty lady to my right, Olga, as well. If you guys like this video, there's a few others on your screen right now. Click on one of those to continue watching. I just dropped 2 hats as well. Those will be down in the link below if you guys want to purchase one of those. Good luck on the felt, you guys, and I'll catch you as always in the next video. Peace!